multiple big characters on the board and keep control.
Looks like a T-Bow is going to go into the Inkwell turn 1 for Cody here, meaning he's probably got at least another 2-drop ramp card behind that. I think I do see another T-Bow in his hand. Cinderella into Cinderella here from Scott as well, and this is one of the more terrifying Cinderellas in the fact that this is the deck that has tons and tons of songs in it as well, so really scary turn 1 here from Scott.
Yeah, Cinderella, Ballroom Sensation, is low-key one of the best cards in the game, in my opinion, because it does set up, and in a lot of people's opinion, actually, it does set up this really powerful turn 2 play with these 3-cost songs, especially with the Storm Rage on, which we may see here.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Looks like Scott did have one to say. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, that's okay. I got distracted by the play.
Yeah, T-Bow going to put another card into the Inkwell, so nice start here from Cody, doing what his deck does best and ramping out some stuff here. Back over to Scott. Looks like he's going to start off with that Let the Storm Rage on. He's going to take care of that T-Bow.
That's that 1-2 punch that is classic in Amber Steel.
And this is important for multiple reasons, too, in this matchup. You may think, oh, it's a T-Bow. It's kind of a low-quality body, but there's Crabs, which we see one in Cody's hand that could have been able to take out this Cinderella next turn. We've seen stuff like that happen. Also, it slows down stuff like Fox. You know, any of the Madam Mim cards in the future as well from coming in and being able to bounce something for cheap and that might get some quality behind it as well. Nice start here for Scott. Cinderella into Smeeze, exactly what this deck wants. Back on over to the BLURPLE side. Let's see what he's got. Going into the 4-ink turn, this is where the deck really starts humming, really starts going.
Yeah, and looking over on Scott's side, this is a very aggressive deck. Not only do we have the turn 2 Smeeze with 2 lore, but I see a Piglet in there, and I think I saw, as the hand was shuffling, a Daisy Duck as well. So, but there is Genie on turn 4. It's what every Amethyst deck wants to do if they're given the space to do it. This is obviously a very dangerous card for a number of different reasons. But one of the reasons that people are choosing to view some powerful song cards to answer it with cards like Along Came Zeus.
Also, the card drawn off the Genie for Cody here was the 5-drop Elsa Spirit. So it might be able to take care of something like this Piglet or this Daisy Duck here this turn. You're going to have really, his choice of how he wants to attack this board from Scott here. Scott's going to go ahead and quest up for 2 here with Esme. No damage at the end of the turn, because don't forget, Piglet is a captain.
Is a captain. Captaining that raft there.
I was unaware of that, had that pointed out to me when I was playing this deck the first time.
He's an unassuming captain.
Really, really is. Back over to Cody. You see an Elsa, see a Fox. I think I see 2 Elsas actually in this hand.
Yeah, so I talked about the 1-2 punch of turn 1, turn 2 into the Let the Storm Rage on. A play that we've become very familiar with in this meta is the Genie on 4 into Elsa on turn 5. That 1-2 punch there, we're likely to see it here, and there she is.
Absolutely. It looks like Elsa on 5 here. What do you think you would take care of here? Do you think the Cinderella or do you think the Piglet?
I do think the key to victory for this Amber Steel deck here is racing ahead early and putting the game within reach before the BLURPLE deck can take over the game. So I do think that Piglet is a tempting target. It represents 3 lore on the board.
Yeah, I don't think I would be doing anything to the Daisy Duck here, because I actually think the Daisy Duck's kind of on your side here at this point. You're getting a little lower resources in your hand, and you actually kind of, I think, want Scott to be questing with Daisy Duck here, because you could draw extra cards off that. That's going to be huge with your ink advantage.
It also removes that captain from the board. It might not be relevant, but now Smee cannot exert with impunity.
Yeah, it can't exert with impunity. It will put 1 damage on him, which means any of the attacks from the character stages of play would be able to pick off the Smee, and it gives Genie kind of a free trade into it as well, quote unquote free. Like it would stick around afterwards, so you can get a little value off that. Back over to Scott here with these 3 characters left over. A bunch of cards left over in his hand. I wonder if Scott's thinking along the same lines I am. I'm not sure I want to be questing with this Daisy Duck here, but you might be kind of priced in, both the players with 2 lore here.
With some interesting choices here. You do have that Long John Silver there, or that John Silver there, rather, which when he's played makes it so one of your opponent's characters can't challenge this turn. So that's something that he could play to then quest with a Daisy and keep it safe for a turn.
Yeah, just coming back to the booth here for a second. We're going to clean something up with the players down. Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the things I've talked about a little bit. Whenever you're playing the Steel Song deck, you want to get out ahead, you want to get out aggressive, but maybe this is one of the reasons people are playing BLURPLE into this tournament is, look, if they're going to be playing decks like this, they're giving me extra cards off of a whole new world, I want to be ramping a lot, and maybe they don't want to play blue-red, and that can kind of happen in this. Well, you still get to play the really strong Amethyst cards that we've been talking about, because you said this, the BLURPLE decks, it's kind of just an Amethyst deck with just a little sprinkling of Sapphire in it, just a little bit.
So when you look at the meta, you do have a few decks that are not Amethyst running around. You have the Ruby Sapphire decks, and you also have these Amber Steel decks. But other than that, you have a lot of Amethyst clones. A very good player I was talking to before this referred to this as the Clone Wars, where you have a lot of decks that look very similar, but they're just slightly different. And that's what these Amethyst decks are. Each one, though, is trying to figure out how to gain an advantage over the other Amethyst decks. And in the case of BLURPLE, you're splashing in just a little bit of blue, a little bit of sapphire, in order to ramp yourself and get to your high-end cards faster than your opponent, to get to the Genie first, to get to the Elsa first.
All right, we're going to head right back down into this match. Here we go. Might have had a little bit of a judge call to clean up there, something to bring us back to the booth for just a moment, but it looks like we haven't missed anything. We're still in the fourth ink turn for Scott here.
Yeah, so as you pointed out, we have, Daisy Duck is something you could quest with this turn. Of course, it's vulnerable to a double challenge there, but that John Silver is something that we could use to protect Daisy Duck if that's something you want to do.
Another Elsa left over in Cody's hand here, too, to kind of play around that. I was going to mention that earlier. This is something that could really put a wrench to the plans of Scott.
So questing the Daisy Duck here, I like this. I do want to point out that if you're going to quest with the Daisy Duck in a turn, we often talk about card draw is something you want to do first. In this instance, getting the information about what your opponent is putting into their hand first helps you make some decisions and might change your lines of play. So questing with the Daisy Duck first is usually the right call. And here we are, oh goodness, another Daisy Duck into that John Silver. And we're going to choose the Genie, it looks like, that won't be able to challenge this turn.
Yeah, so it looks like that Genie is going to get locked down. Another card put into the inkwell. One card left over for Scott. Back over to Cody. We did see a rabbit come off the top. A snake now as well, so starting to get that engine going. Got the extra card draw now. He's got the bounce. He's got a crab. He's got a spirit. He's got pretty much everything you'd want at this point in the game. Let's see if he can take those resources and turn them into a win. He's a little bit under the gun here. He's a little behind on board. 5 characters for Scott here, and a little bit of a Lord lead, 6-2.
Yeah, definitely needs to start thinking about some board control here. I want to point out another benefit to playing John Silver there. We talked about Piglet is a captain and prevented that damage on Smee, keeping it out of reach of either of those 2 strength characters. John Silver also a captain, so playing him there made it so not only could the Genie not challenge, but Smee now is still at 3 willpower, having not damaged himself at the end of the turn.
Oh, and it looks like this crab is going to come into play. Give Elsa an extra 3 challenger. It looks like Elsa is going to be challenging into, it looks like the Daisy Duck. Nice pick off there. This is going to be a Madam Fox. This is going to pick up that Elsa. Going to kind of reset that damage that's been on there. And that's going to take care of the Smee as well. And clean up this board quite a bit on Scott's side. Good for Cody here. Nice solid turn for him here.
4 lore removed there. 4 lore remaining on the board.
Back over to Scott here. I think he just picked up a Robin Hood.
We did have that shift available earlier. I think that other Robin Hood went into the inkwell. So we can ink this. We can play this turn. We ink the Sven. We play the Robin Hood. Let's see if that's the line we take.
Glad to see the Robin Hood making its way back in. Really powerful card that's been around since the beginning of Lorcana. Used to have a lot of play, especially in these Steel Amber decks, but kind of falling out of favor here lately with set 6.
It did fall out of favor. There were some other options available, and then you don't see the Robin Hood shift run in the aggressive Amber Steel variants, but it is a card that can shift on turn 3 to allow you to sing Whole New World on turn 3 as early as possible, and that's a line that you always like available to you in these Steel Song decks.
Scott taking his time. Does he want to get some value off this Sven? Does he want to get this Robin Hood into play? Does he want to quest with this Daisy Duck again here? That's a good question.
What do you think about? There goes Sven into the inkwell for the Robin Hood, champion of Sherwood.
Looks like he's just going to pass on back over to Cody. So no lore gains for Scott here this turn. Cody with a full hand. I think it's another crab just got added. He's got that rabbit. Still got that snake. So he's got a lot of the good bounce targets. He's got a bouncer. He's got that Elsa left over that we know from last turn that got picked up by the Madam M Fox.
Yeah, a lot of options here to clean things up.
Yeah, I think he's got double Elsa, Fox, Rabbit, as his hand here for Cody. What a great hand. Let's see how he wants to approach this. A lot of interesting things he can do here too.
Yes, we will have to play the Elsa to exert something. The question is, what are we going to choose? That Daisy Duck is a tempting target with 2 lore. Can take it off without much damage back. However, it does give you a character every turn.
Yeah, I think you kind of want to be careful here, though. You don't want to leave anything that can be picked off by the Robin Hood here on challenging back. So maybe this is going to be to tap down like Cinderella and then just go ahead and pick off Cinderella of one of the evasive, probably the Elsa. So you can quest with Genie as well. So it does look all right. It is going to be the Robin Hood. So it's going to be Fox is going to challenge into, put 3 damage. That's going to bump up the Elsa. Elsa's going to go ahead and finish us off. Okay. A lot of resources put into that, but it does get rid of the very, very good character. A card gets drawn by Scott here, though, since Robin Hood got banished in a challenge. So he's going to replace himself, but the problematic character has been dealt with. Genie's going to go ahead, grab 2 lore here as well. Both of these evasive characters still left over. No snake play from Cody. Can get a little more value off it with that rabbit later, possibly. Draw for Scott here. Is that a double Naveen hand with no songs?
A double Naveen.
A bad spot to be in. I've been in that spot before. It doesn't feel great, but at least you do get a 3/3 that quests for 2 here.
That's true. That lore is potentially valuable. That's what he wants to do is get closer to 20 as fast as possible, close out this game.
John Silver's going to go ahead and quest up. These players, that's going to break the tie. Scott's going to pull ahead 7-6 here. But Cody's about to start having some really strong turns here. I think he's going to not run out of gas for almost the rest of the game here with these rabbits. Is that another crab? So is that crab, rabbit now that's left over?
Crab, rabbit. But no Elsa left in hand to exert anything on that side of the board. So those 2 lure characters for the moment will be safe.
Does have the perfect amount of ink right now to be able to do both of those. I love starting the turn off with the rabbit, though. Let's get all the information. Let's draw the card. Looks like a magic broom. So if he wants, he could use these crabs to use one of these crabs to possibly pick off this John Silver with the Genie, but that means he's not questing with it. So we'll have to see if that's a trade-off that he wants to make here.
Yeah. When you're in these matchups, especially when you're on the draw as a control deck against an aggressive deck, there's some point in the game where you have to figure out how to take the momentum, how to turn the corner and become the beatdown, as they say, or become the aggressive deck. And so this is kind of the point of the game with Genie on the board where Cody's trying to figure out when do I start questing myself.
It does look like the crab's going to come in. It's going to go ahead and pump up the Elsa, and that's going to trade off here with the John Silver. Leave that Genie with the full amount of toughness, and that magic broom is going to get put into play as well, possibly representing another card after questing next turn as well. So Cody going to be keeping the gas coming.
Genie doing Genie things, questing for 2 lore.
Definitely like that. Keeping the Genie healthy. It's a 2-quester. Another Robin Hood, champion of Sherwood, added to Scott's hand.
Not a terrible card off the top deck. A card that will replace itself. It's 2 lore. And better than drawing a Cinderella or something. But
I wonder if we're going to be questing with Naveen here. Seems like one of the only ones that might be able to quest for you if you're Scott. So it does let Merlin's Rabbit kind of run into it if you want to draw an extra card, but I think you'd be fine with that.
Yeah, Cody's going to keep questing here, keep pushing his lore title and lore higher, and eventually force Scott into the control role if he's not careful. So kind of has to match Cody's lore here, questing with that Naveen, inviting the crackback, but I do think that's the way to go.
Yeah, Scott taking the lead here in lore. Most like I believe he's at 9 while Cody's at 2. And one of the misses here for Cody, that is not a character to draw a card off the broom here. That's a McDuck's Manor. Very powerful card. 9 willpower on a location that's going to be gaining 2 lore a turn, and your opponent doesn't really want to be challenging that too much and putting their characters at risk, though. Could be very powerful in this spot.
Yeah, it's not a card that will allow you to control much on the board, but man, what a menace that card is out there. It's Scott doesn't have a ton to deal with it, and is going to have to spend a turn devoting multiple characters, sending them into that McDuck Manor with its 9 willpower.
Yeah, so it is going to be some questing from Cody here. I was going to say, it does look like they're both going to challenge down Naveen here. No card drawn at the broom, but he does found some value off of it, and he does get the McDuck's Manor to play too. I was wondering if there was a chance that the rabbit was going to do that to get you the extra card, but he doesn't seem necessary for Cody here. He's playing the long game to get a little more out of that, because if he draws any of his bounce cards, any of his bad MM cards, he kind of gets to go nuts with this much ink.
Yeah, and this McDuck Manor here is a ticking clock. Unless you're running Along Came Zeus, which I haven't seen yet in Scott's deck, it's going to be very difficult to take care of that McDuck Manor. And it sets up, what, a 5-turn clock, basically. This is a card that was pretty popular when it first came out. It kind of fell away from the meta a little bit, but we saw a lot of them in Europe, a lot of Ruby Sapphire players bringing it in, especially for the mirror. And so I'm not surprised to see it in this BLURPLE deck here, especially if you were anticipating a heavy Ruby Sapphire meta.
Does look like Scott is going to Quest of Robin Hood here, going to go up to 11. Looks like he's perfectly secure in doing this in a race mode. The Naveen, for no value yet again, played out. But again, it is a 3-3 that can quest for 2. All right, back over to Cody. Gets to Lore from his location. What did he draw for his turn here? Any of the bounce cards would be huge here. I think start to pull him away in this matchup.
We do have, a couple lines that allow us to remove the Robin Hood here, but again, it will replace itself. And Scott has drawn into 2 lore characters almost every turn here, representing consistent threats on the board.
Yeah, Scott doing a good job of just staying in this game, chipping away, forcing Cody to have to make a couple trades here.
Now, there's some great control-y outs that Cody could draw into in the endgame here. An Elsa Spirit of Winter would be fantastic, or even a Hades, if this deck is running it, would allow him to banish that Robin Hood, or send that Robin Hood to the Inkwell without Scott drawing a card. So hoping to draw one of those high-end options. Right now, though, just trying to figure out how to keep Scott from running away with things to allow his McDuck Manor to do the work.
Right. I wonder if this is a bounce effect. We're leading off with questing with Rabbit here. Looks like this might be a snake. Yep, it is a Madamim snake. It's going to pick up the Rabbit. That's going to draw an extra card here for Cody. That is a big top deck for him here. Scott can't be happy about that top deck.
Oh, what did he get? I missed it.
I didn't get it either. He's hiding it a little bit. So one of the cards is a Rabbit. What's the last one? What is this? 6 ink up for Cody, so he can play some of his most impactful cards here as well.
Well, looks
like he's going to go ahead and just redeploy that Rabbit, draw another card.
Amethyst doing Amethyst things.
Unique quest for 2 here. Breaks up that tie, moves Cody to 13. Might be the most methodical game I've seen in a while. Just a little bit of back and forth every turn.
Well, look at this position, though. Cody representing 7 lore on the board. Cody sitting at 13. That's game on the board. That Genie is evasive, so unable to be challenged. Scott has to draw some sort of removal option to get rid of it. So now the only way out of this at this point is that's readily available is removing that McDuck Manor. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strength on the board.
A really good point. So he's going to start out by using Daisy Duck. Get to lore here and even it up, but that's a Hades off the top that's going to get added to Cody's hand. Very impactful character here. 2 ink. What is this going to be? Looks like it's going to be a Smee. Naveen is going to... Nope. Take a little time. Looks like Robin Hood's going to go first. Robin Hood going to sing. Robin Hood's going to sing a whole new world here. So that's going to be 7 new cards for Scott here. Really, really needs to draw Zeus here.
We need to draw a removal option for that Genie. That is the answer. Cycling through. We got a couple cards to sing.
All right, we got 2 Let It Goes, but is that enough? I don't think that's...
Oh, it is. So Let It Go will be able to be sung by Cinderella Bomb Sensation. We'll remove that Genie, so that at least keeps you in the game another turn.
He's going to get another card deeper as well. We still have the Naveen left over, so we still could hit another big sing card here. Draw for turn. That's a Piglet.
Not what you want to see. So now let's take a look at the board state here, though, because we've bought ourselves another turn, and now we're showing Scott is showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lore on the board, also representing games. So Cody not able to quest as high as possible this turn. He's going to have to answer some of these threats on the board.
That Smee just got played this turn, so yeah, you definitely can't use that Smee, but you can use the Naveen. That's going to put up 2 more lore, get you ahead here. You have a Sven in your hand, too, so if you want to, you could protect one of your characters here. Going to ink this piece. Looks like it might just be 2 Piglets here. Pass back and see if you can win, Cody.
All the threats.
All right, Cody's going to go up to 15 here, and he has 3 on board. if there's a goat plus a bounce here, he might be able to steal this game.
I mean, this is, oh, goodness gracious. There's a lot of threats to deal with here. Now,
going up to 15, was that a goat?
That was a goat off the top. Let's do the math here. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
The goat, and if we have
4,
the bounce
5,
there. Oh,
6.
2 goats. 2 goats. 2 goats.
I need to look it up. What's the group of goats called? I need to look this up.
A win.
Oh, there you go.
It's a win. It's a win of goats. Wow.
I love that we have the crowd like right here. We get to hear the cheers right after the top decks. It's one of my favorite things ever at these Lorcana events.
Oh man, I don't know that we had the bounce in hand, so top decking a goat or a bounce was the answer, and there it was. What a great game. That was a knife's edge at the end there.
Yeah, a game that was super close the entire time, right? Everybody's jockeying for position, one card at a time. Both the players would draw for their cards to turn and be like, well, it doesn't really make sense for me to move in here, so hopefully you can't do it. And they're like, well, I'll do my one thing, and build up boards until someone finds that one card that breaks through. Really great game here. I can't believe this match is even over yet.
I know, that felt like 2 games.
I know, right? That felt like a long time between those two players. What great play between them. And you know what? Let's head on back down to the feature match area, see how they finish up this round, because I want to see how they play out this game too. The quality of play in games today has just been unreal from the tournament here. And, I've been saying this. I feel like Lorcana is really starting to come into its own with the player base of just the quality of play has been so high. People are learning more and more every one of these events how to build their decks better, right? How to play a little bit better. We're getting to see the EU side of things too, to see their takes on games. Hey, in the future, we're going to start to see other parts of the world as well getting DLCs in other countries, other continents. We're going to see their takes on the game. What do they think about the meta? What kind of cards do they think are better here? And we start to learn things from each other all around. It's just going to help the game grow at such a pace that's going to be awesome. And we get to watch this every day. I love this.
I agree with you. A challenge coming up in Australia, and I'm sure there's more to follow. It's a global game now, more of the globe than just America and Europe, and it's really awesome to see. I want to point out Scott choosing to alter 1 card.
It's usually very scary if you're the other player.
Keeping 6, sending 1 away, getting
you can
more efficient hand.
You can kind of see why too there.
Yeah, he definitely had the opening that he wanted. Of course, one of the dangers sometimes in altering your hand, you run the risk of pulling too many uninkables unexpectedly and ruining your opening. So that's one of the reasons you're oftentimes seeing people conservative. But here, especially on the play, you have this brilliant 1-2 punch again that we talked about last game, Cinderella on turn 1, and we do have the Let the Storm Rage on available on turn 2.
Let's see if there's a 1-drop to point that at from Cody. I've seen some spots in games where, depending on what your hand looks like, if you have the 1-drop, sometimes you don't even play it here just because you want to strand that card into your opponent's hand as long as possible.
That's true. BLURPLE, not a ton of 1-drops either. This deck is happy to wait until turn 2 to play Tipo, so possibly there's no target there for Let the Storm Rage on. There will be no target there for Let the Storm Rage on.
Really good point. Just to add on that a little bit more, I don't think there's a 1-drop in Cody's hand, but another thing to think about is you can kind of keep that 1-drop for the turns that maybe need to deploy a snake, maybe need to deploy a fox, and that gives you some edge of being able to play the 1-drop, then play that character behind it. You don't have to have it sitting around from a turn because it might not survive against Scott's deck. Guy goes ahead and lures up with that Cinderella, going to get the first lure of the game and the nice little lead from him here. He's got a couple of very good 2-drops here, possibly the best 2-drop in the game. This is Smee into Smee.
A double Smee. Yeah, a very aggressive opening here. Again, that's what this deck wants to do, run underneath the Sapphire Amethyst deck. So great turn 2 play. Looking over at Cody's side, he does have the turn 2 ramp that he wants. There's a Tipo coming out, allowing him to get an extra card into his Inkwell. Picking here which he wants to send.
Back over to Scott here, that Cinderella is finally going to sing the Let the Storm Rage on, take out that Tipo. As we said, kind of important in this matchup. Draws the extra card here, gets that Piglet into play, and gets 2 lore for his trouble here his turn as well. So he's up to 3-0 on the lore here. No 1-drop here to really make it a perfect turn, but I think that's just fine for Scott.
Yeah, crucially, removing that Tipo prevents that from challenging into the Smee. Of course, we do have the Poo Pig, or the Poo Pirate Piglet Poo Pirate Captain.
Alliteration is fun.
I know, it's a challenge, which prevents that 1 damage there in Smee. But BLURPLE doing what BLURPLE wants to do, going ramp on turn 2 into return 3 Genie, and then we have that other punch there, that Elsa available on turn 5 to start cleaning things up.
Yeah, back over to Scott here, staring down that Genie. Doesn't have a very good job of taking care of his deck. He's got to go through loops if it isn't something like Along Came Zeus. Now, Rapunzel is going to put into the Inkwell here, one of the more powerful cards, but other things to do here. If he can get another character in play here, I think I see a Strength of a Raging Fire here as well. Maybe it'll take care of this Genie this turn. All right, so this is going to be a triple lore up. So that's going to be for 3, 4, 5, 6. Scott, he's already up to 9 lore here. This Finn is going to go ahead and ready that Cinderella. And this is a great player. It's going to ready Cinderella, allow it
oh my
to sing
goodness.
Strength of a Raging Fire, being the 4th character in play. What a start here from Scott Cody.
Wow.
On the back foot for sure.
That was a very impactful turn. Wow. This is going to be a challenge to come back from, BLURPLE. One of the trade-offs that you get for being able to ramp into your late-game characters early is you're giving up on other colors. One of those colors is Ruby. Ruby has the sweeping effects you want to be able to come back from board states like this, not available in Amethyst or Sapphire.
Really great point. Yeah, they may not have that reset button that you need. Until you get to something like 7 or 8 ink, you can maybe play an Elsa and kind of catch back up that, or Hades, but like you don't have that big effect that takes care of all of the characters at once.
No, you need to get a little bit higher. So we do have the Elsa Spirit of Winter, which I'm not Spirit of Winter. I'm sorry, the 5th Spirit, which can come down here, deal with that Piglet, and perhaps if we're lucky, you can set up a shift the next turn. So there are ways back into this. This is not over, but this is a very challenging board state for Cody to deal with.
Yeah, Cody taking his time here, knows that these decisions are going to be so impactful for the rest of the game. Does look like he does have that Elsa. Going to go ahead and exert the Sven. Probably pick off the Piglet here, I would think. It takes away the most lore from play. It's going to put 2 damage on the Elsa. Scott, though, at 9. Cody at 0. Still showing 4, 5 lore in play for Scott here. Plus, oh, that's a huge play here.
Oh, John Silver coming in saying, Elsa, you cannot challenge on your next turn, keeping his character safe from that Elsa crackback. What a challenge.
Whatever John Silver's cooking, I want some. That looks really good, by the way, because he's definitely cooking up a win here for Scott as well this game. Got him. Quite the lore lead here as well. 14 for Scott, 0 for Cody. He's got a lot to get through here on this board.
Yeah, very fast start.
A Fox would go a long way for Cody here. Actually, I think, should the Smee have a damage one here as well?
No, John Silver
That's right, John Silver,
is a captain. He prevents that 1 damage.
You know what? It's always the sneaky ones.
The
I forget
sneaky
that he's
captains. Yeah, right?
There's that many captains that are also the cook on the ship, so they kind of...
That's true. At this point, he is the cook, but perhaps secretly the captain. So we do have another Elsa in hand. It looks like we can rush and challenge into something, but there's a lot to deal with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lore. We have to clear something.
Yeah, the second Elsa doesn't really... I mean, like, it's fine, right? But it only takes away something like me. So if there's something else, you go, okay.
Oh.
So this is pretty decent here. This is going to move the 2 damage over to something else that's going to take care of the Cinderella. But now he doesn't have a good challenge here, which he can't anyway because of the John Silver. So at least Cody does something to make inroads on the board. He is going to lure up for his first lore of the game, but he is way behind on that metric in the game. Scott, 1 card left in his hand here. Draw a card first turn. Let's see if he can... I don't think he can win this turn, but it looks like he's got another John Silver. And yeah, I think that's going to be the nail in the coffin here for Cody.
Go all the way to 19. If it is another John Silver, we'll prevent another challenge. Again, there
also has this Vin as well, so he can protect a character here. Tons of different ways to go this route.
Thinking this through.
Yeah. I love the speed that Scott plays with when he's so sure of himself. Like, you know, I play a lot faster too, and the game feels like it's on, but nothing wrong with taking a moment. Let's make sure we do this correctly. So John Silver's going to get played. Make sure the KHL see the wry smile on Cody's face. Like, hey, it was a long shot anyway, but this makes it even harder from this point. And like you said, this is highlighting that one of those problems with BLURPLE, that playing from behind can be very difficult with this deck. The hand is extended. It's going to be a tie between these two players, hopefully enough to make sure that they can keep playing in this tournament. But what a great game between these two. Very much highlighted by the first one of this match being unbelievably good.
Yeah, what great games. I mean, you saw BLURPLE doing what BLURPLE wants to do there in that first game, and then you did see this aggressive Amber Steel deck doing what it wants to do, running under BLURPLE really aggressively. Some really impactful